Jaguar are about to do something that most brands would never ever consider. In fact, it's a decision that for most supporters of the brand, most enthusiasts of the brand, this is going to sound outright bizarre. They're going to stop selling cars. Now, they're not going to disappear as a brand, but they are going to stop selling vehicles for nearly an entire year. They're going to drop all of the cars they currently sell. So that's the F-Pace, I-Pace, that's the XE, and I think in some markets you can still buy the XF, although it's probably on the very, very end of its lifespan right now. But they're going to drop the entire lineup. And the F-Pace actually at the moment is the one car that's probably making Jaguar some money. It may continue to get a few more months of sale after the end of this year and into 2025. But this all fits with an idea where Jaguar have basically said, we want to become an EV only company. Okay, they want to be not like a BMW that has, an I range, a hybrid range, and currently still a petrol and diesel range. They want to be like a Tesla. We only sell EVs. That's it. You can't buy a hybrid. You can't buy any combustion engine vehicle at all. Not even a small sales number like Ferrari will likely keep doing, and other sort of big brands that are known for their sports cars. They're just going to scrap everything. Now, the reason they're doing this is because they have 3 new vehicles coming out. So they have an EV sort of Grand Tourer. They have an EV sort of limousine, which is going to be, I don't know. I said when I did the guide for the Jaguar XJ that Jaguar have said no more XJ. And they had, that's at the time. And I ended the video and I said I was really sad to see that the XJ would leave us. But actually, seeing where most sort of large luxury vehicles were going with these ginormous grills, very bizarre styling, tech laden, and kind of the bits that we've known for luxury cars were kind of taking a second step to them just being rolling mobile tech buses. I kind of felt happy that the XJ wasn't going to go through that. It was going to stay in its position as sort of the old school, large vehicle design, something that the driver still wants to drive. Maybe he has a driver, but every now and again he says, take the day off. I want to take it down some back lanes. Jaguar basically said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to have a hybrid. We're not going to have an EV version. We're scrapping it. Now they're kind of saying we're going to have a limousine type vehicle. So that will likely be a long wheelbase, like the BMW 7 Series long wheelbase, Mercedes S-Class long wheelbase, or maybe even the Mercedes S-Class Maybach version. They haven't been very clear on this. Finally, the last version will be a sort of Bentley Bentayga style vehicle. I know, it's crazy. Jaguar are doing so well with the F-Pace. I mean, they've been struggling. Let's face it. I know I love the F-Type. I think it's a great car, but they weren't selling a lot of them. They weren't selling a lot of E-Paces. Pretty much no one anymore is buying their saloons, even though the XE, it drives fantastically. If you're in the market for a vehicle and you want to get one of the last sort of great driving saloons, go and get yourself a test drive in an XE while you still can. But I mean, do what you want, but I'm not supporting Jaguar here. This isn't a pro Jaguar thing. It's just information. I've driven an XE. They drive really, really well, even compared to something like the BMW 3 Series, which is kind of the sort of hallmark of that sort of small executive vehicle. But they're going to get rid of all of those cars, and I say get rid of the F-Pace, which of all cars, that was the one that you could kind of see them carrying on. Maybe they would just do a hybrid version, and say, look, we're going to keep it going into 2025, 2026, maybe even 2027, just to keep money trickling into the brand. But instead, they're going to stop selling cars. And from what I understand, in most markets, 1 or 2 may still get the F-Pace for a little bit longer. But for most markets, they're essentially going to leave. So just close. I know a lot of Jaguar dealers are actually sort of coupled in with the Land Rover dealers, so it won't be that big of a problem. But if you walk in and you say, oh, hi, I want to buy a Jaguar, they'll say, no, that's fine. And we have a range, but you can't buy it right this second. Or you can reserve it, which is a little bit Tesla-y, if you ask me. We've got a car coming out in 6 months. Go on the website, give us some money, £1,000, $1,000, €1,000, whatever it might be. And in 6 months you can buy it. That works for Tesla because Tesla has this die-hard fan base that love them. They love the people, the person that runs the company, and they love a lot of the sort of the integration, a bit like if you own an Apple and you have Mac and you have an iPhone, whatever else. So you're sort of really in with the system. You're not going to go anywhere. Jaguar don't really have that. What they're asking from their customers is a completely fresh start. And look, I want to make it clear, I hope it works for Jaguar, I really do. But we're in a time where BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Toyota, the big players in both the luxury sector and just in general car sales are saying, maybe we've got our EV strategy slightly wrong. Maybe we should concentrate on getting some hybrids out there, because people have said to us very clearly, for whatever reason, whether they live somewhere where charging is going to be very, very difficult. For example, if you live on some of the streets in the UK, I used to live on a street where it was just road houses. It was a single lane straight down the middle and parking on one side. It would have been very difficult for me to charge a car because, for a start, you didn't have a place to park your car. Sometimes I was 3 streets over trying to park because on a Friday night when the town centre was very busy, you just couldn't park outside or anywhere near where you lived. So some people are sort of saying, well, I want to buy a new car, but I don't want to be hamstrung by having to charge it in. Give me a hybrid, something that I can charge in when I can get a spot outside my house, or when I can get to a garage that has a charger, or stop outside of the many sort of fast food chains that allow you to charge up. But for the rest of the time, I can just fill up with fuel at the fuel station and carry on with my drive. Jaguar are just going to ignore that entire market. And just to sort of hammer home the point here, there are manufacturers that have made EV-only cars today who are now saying, we're going to make these able to run as a hybrid. Their original design was EV only, and they're actually re-engineering them to be plug-in hybrid. At that time, in that market, you would think that Jaguar would say, maybe we should sort of phase this in, a bit like Land Rover are doing. I mean, Range Rovers are selling amazingly at the moment. Have whatever opinion you want of Range Rovers, but they are selling really, really well. And Land Rover really clearly made their case to the market, and they've said, well, in markets where we can sell diesels, we will sell a mild hybrid diesel. In areas where we can sell petrol engines, but they have to be hybrid with plug-in, then we'll sell plug-in hybrids. And areas that have high demand for EVs, we will sell electric vehicles. Simple as. Then they're going to release the EV Range Rover, I think, at the end of 2024, going into 2025. Jaguar have said, we're going to be an EV-only company from 2025. And I think there is a reason for this. But to explain it, it gets a little bit political just for a second. And I really don't, this channel is nothing to do with politics. We never talk about politics. It's just that's over there, well, cars over here. But unfortunately, cars sit under regulations and politics sit around that. So let's just do 30 seconds, okay? The 30 seconds is, in the UK, we have very, very odd government policy. It's to do with the fact that this is going to get more political than I wanted, but we're part of Europe, okay, but we're not part of the European Union anymore. It means they have their rules. We have very, very similar rules, but we have control over our rules. And our government has decided we want to somehow look better by trying to say we're going to be electric only, because somehow, if you're in a political circle, that is better. Forget about the lithium, forget about where you get the energy from, forget about all those things, just zero tailpipe emissions, that's what they want. Okay, that's all political, let's put it over there. Okay, let's just throw it over there for a second. The key point is that what the government has said is that they want it to be a 2030 target in the UK. The rest of the world are pretty much saying, well, the US is saying we'll have maybe 2040, maybe 2050. Realistically, they're never going to say you have to be EV only. They'll let manufacturers and engineers slowly creep up and up and up and up and up to the point where, say, 50% of the sales are electric vehicles, 30 to 40% are hybrids, and then there's the niche market of 10% who want their sports car with a V8. That's what a lot of the world will allow. Even Europe, okay, the EU were the leading light of this for years, and then sort of Germany stepped in and Italy stepped in, and they said, wait a minute, what you're talking about is us losing hundreds of thousands of jobs. And forget about the tens of thousands we'll lose of high-skilled engineers who are working to make the combustion engine better and better and better, and those looking at new technologies to give you cleaner and cleaner fuel. Let's forget about all those job losses. We have supporting industries which go into the hundreds of thousands of jobs. We can't lose that. And so there have been amendments, because not only was there a job issue, but there was also a realistic issue. People saying, yeah, I'll buy a new car. Yes, I like the idea of lower emissions. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want cleaner air? Okay. And if I can have the same power, better performance, possibly, if I can have more miles, if it will cost me less money, well, it's win, win, win. So no problem. The problem is when you start to put restrictions on these people and say, okay, well, you're going to have to pay more money. It may not perform as well, depends on the temperature, whatever else. And ultimately, after you've paid more money and all these other things, the costs may not be that much lower. Okay. Where does this put Jaguar? Well, Jaguar are there, and they've listened to, I think they've predominantly listened to the UK and thought, well, that will just happen across the world. And I really don't think it will. That we're pushing for an insane target, if you ask me, of 100% electric sales in 5.5 years' time. It's not going to happen. For that to happen, you have to get rid of our entire infrastructure of selling cars and replace it somehow. You're not going to convince sales managers and salesmen to turn customers away who are turning up saying, take my money, I want a plug-in hybrid, who saying, no, you can only have an electric car. It's the unrealistic, and ultimately manufacturers would probably end up having to give up on one of their biggest countries in the world for buying new vehicles. You know, the UK is huge for buying new vehicles. We've already seen a few manufacturers completely give up on us. Maybe a few would last, those companies that already sell EVs. Obviously, Tesla would do very, very well. Volkswagen would do fine because they sell both. But some companies would just say, well, we're out then. We can't make any money here. So I don't think ultimately that is what will happen. But I think Jaguar has listened to this and thought, well, that will happen across the world. So why don't we set ourselves up like that in advance? And that means that they've set this thing 2025 onwards, we're EV only. When everyone heard that, and I remember working, where was that at the time? I think I was a car buyer, but I might have been talking to someone from Auto Express. But anyway, I was working in car media, and I remember hearing someone say, yeah, but you know what they mean? Like, what do they mean? Well, they mean EV as in electric, as in a type of electric. That can be a hybrid. They're not saying they're going to get rid of combustion engines. They're not actually saying we will no longer sell combustion engines. They're saying we will be an electric car manufacturer. And when I heard that, I thought, that makes perfect sense. That makes so much more sense. You know, 2025, you step into hybrids, and then, you know, over 5 years, 10 years, see how the market goes. Eventually, maybe one day you become EV. Instead, they're going to say, and this is something they've outright said, we're going to get rid of our entire lineup. It's all gone, everything. And come back a few months later, they're saying up to a year. Realistically, I don't think it will be that long, probably be a few months. And we're going to relaunch with a GT model, which will probably be 6 figures and above. So you've lost most of your sort of lower end F-type buyers. You've certainly lost all those that were originally looking to step into the brand in some sort of sports car capacity, because 6 figures and above, you are competing with some of the best of the best. You're sort of into Porsche GT, GT3, GT2, GT3 RS. You know, you're going into that sort of area, and a lot of the electric sports cars that are coming out probably going to beat that. The Porsche are going to do it with the new Boxster and the Cayman. They're going to go an EV version. They're not talking 6 figures. Maybe they're talking close to that, but realistically, Jag's going to be a good way above that from what I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong, but Jaguar are being a little bit coy, but that's what it looks like. From their limousine version, you know, maybe it'll work in London, and maybe the government will buy a load of them, and maybe, you know, and they'll sell okay in the US, especially in California. Maybe they'll sell in a few other areas too, but it's not going to be the market penetration of something like the S-Class, the A5, the A8 Audi, the 7 Series, The US have a few of their own sort of big luxury sedans, but a lot of them are SUVs now. So I'm just trying to think like Cadillac and all that sort of stuff. But if we just stick with the 3 European ones, and Jaguar are kind of sort of ducking out of that market. Even Lexus for years have sort of been doing their biggest saloon vehicle and going, oh yeah, you can have it with a V8. You know, we know it will sell with a V8. You can have it as a hybrid, but we'll put a V8 in it. Or maybe we'll downsize it to a V6. But don't worry, well, we've got you back. It just seems weird to then sort of just ignore that market entirely and not compete on a plug-in hybrid side. From the SUV side, well, honestly, this is a brand that's paired up with Land Rover. Okay, so you've got your Land Rover Defenders, you've got your Range Rovers. I don't know what they're going to do with the the Discovery range, but that brand sort of covers off the SUVs pretty nicely. The reason you buy an F-Pace is because you don't want to buy the Velar from the Range Rover Velar. And honestly, the F-Pace looks better, drives a bit better, it performs a bit better, and it's price-wise, you might as well just go for that over a Velar. So when you're going from F-Pace, which is currently in the market with plug-in hybrid, I think in most markets that will be competing with your sort of low-end spec BMW X5 type of vehicle, and keep on competing until you get sort of mid to higher spec of that type of vehicle and say, well, we're going to compete with Bentley. Bentley and Rolls-Royce, they're already there. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am for the sake of Jaguar, because I like Jaguars. I remember selling some great Jaguars over the time I sold cars, and I remember buying in some amazing Jaguars. Some of the best drives I had were in some of the rarer Jaguars in the old dealer group I worked in. We had Aston Martin. So every now and again, someone with a Jaguar would come in and they were doing the trade of Jaguar for Aston Martin. Sometimes it went the other way around. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that sold Jaguars that got Aston Martins. It just seems so odd to me that we're going to lose that end of them. And Jaguar is sort of openly saying this. That end, that part of Jaguar is finished. It's gone. Forget about it. You know, well, don't forget about it, but that's our past. And we're just going to drift away from it. And here's our future, and this is it. If they'd said, we're going to turn up with a £30,000 electric convertible, you know, MX-5 type competitor, and we're going to be the new Jaguar, that would be something really worth talking about. Maybe you wouldn't want an EV, but you've got to talk about that. That seems pretty interesting to me. Actually, MG are doing that. They're doing the Cyber something or other, and they're trying to bring back the two-door MG sports car, EV only. So that would have been Jaguar's opening into EVs, to sort of get people to say, hey, we're a new company now. You know, we're the same as we've always been, but we're new. And this is what we now do. And maybe they would have brought in something like an F-Pace and said, hey, look, I know you wanted the plug-in hybrid, but we're EV now. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're going to do 3 years with a new plug-in hybrid version. Here's what it will be. But in 3 years, it's going to be EV only. And transition people in. But just dropping your entire lineup and forgetting about all those customers currently out there that are saying, yeah, I want to buy that. Just saying, sorry, you can't anymore. But you can buy our new one. It's going to be about double, triple the money though. I don't know. It's a tactic that it doesn't make loads of sense to me, but I'm not on the inside of Jaguar. Maybe they've got something up their sleeve. I really hope for them that they have. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, then like and subscribe it. All the best.